Here now, Charles Krauthammer, Syndicated columnist and Fox News contributor. Charles, good evening. Good to see you. He came out swinging at this news conference this afternoon and basically contradicted a large portion of what James Comey said under oath yesterday.
Well, that's who Trump is. He's the counterpuncher. I think he got kind of beaten up yesterday by some of the Comey testimony. But I think on the big picture, he's right. If this investigation, which began about Russian collusion, Russian interference, is really about collusion with the Trump administration, Trump campaign, if it's about did Trump himself collude with the Russians, this is sort of the question. Trump 2016, he was exonerated. There's not a shred of evidence. It could be developed, it could be shown later, but as of today, and as of months and months now, investigation begun in July of last year, we see no evidence of that. And the irony is this whole debacle occurred because the head of the FBI tells the president 3 times in private, you are not the target of the investigation. You are essentially clean, but won't say it in public. And that was the origin of the cloud that Trump was referring to. It came out in the testimony yesterday of Comey, I think under questioning from Senator Feinstein, that the cloud was the general picture, but the specific issue was, why couldn't you tell the country? And yet, in the absence of that, you had all these stories, all the media full of Trump collusion. Yeah. So on the collusion issue, on something that happened in 2016, he's clean. The problem is this is the cover-up without a crime. It's the stuff that happened this year, these interviews that he had with the head of the FBI, what he might or might not have said about Flynn, that now, ironically, I think is going to end up being the subject of an investigation by Robert Mueller.
So do you think that the investigation is, Robert Mueller's investigation supposedly is going to wrap up in 3 months. What do you read into that? Because there was a suggestion that, the obstruction of justice thing is not over, that, James Comey said, I know what I know from my tenure, but now it's in someone else's front pocket.
I find it hard to believe this is going to be wrapped up in 3 months.
Yeah.
That would be a miracle. That would be akin to the Lord creating the world in 6 days. He did take 6 days and not 1 day. That's I don't think but let's assume that happens. What that means is everything up until recently, Mueller would be agreeing with Comey. President himself is clean. There might have been some, quote, satellites, unquote, who are not clean.
Which is what it was always about from the beginning, largely.
It is, and that wouldn't affect, that wouldn't affect the presidency in a deep way. There could have been 1 or 2 people who went over a line, but unless you can show a direction from the candidate, unless you can show collusion, it means nothing. So on that, I think he's clean. That's what we've heard from Comey himself. The question is, will Mueller pursue this, layoff of Flynn, something that is kind of peripheral, very narrow. Even Comey says that's only about the lying about the speaking with the Russian ambassador. It's not about the Russia probe in general. So if it is going to be in 3 months, I think he comes out okay.
Do you think?
But that's a big if.
Do you think, and we're reading into what we all watched yesterday a bit, but, I wonder what you think about whether or not James Comey revealed, sort of his own animus towards the president yesterday, whether or not he revealed his political inclination to want to prompt a special prosecutor in this case. I mean, do you feel like he hurt himself at all in terms of his reputation for being, Mr. Integrity and Mr. Even-handed with anything that we saw yesterday?
Well, I hate to put it this way, but he showed a Trumpian side of himself. If to be Trumpian is to fight back, never to take it, as Trump says, I hit back 10 times as hard as I am hit. This is what Comey did. Basically, he was very angry about the way he was gotten rid of, the brutal way it was done. It was also a very politically stupid way to do it. There would have been other ways to do it where you give him a gold watch, you have a press conference, you praise him, you give him some kind of award, and you send him on his way. I think he's very upset about that. He felt he had to protect himself, the reputation, and he came out swinging. But it's not, he's not the choir boy he makes himself out to be. He is not the secular saint the Democrats are making him out to be. In an act of supreme hypocrisy, since a few months ago they were saying he was the villain who swung the election to Donald Trump. But I think these are human emotions. You get whacked, you want to whack back. That's what we saw.
The Trumpian side of James Comey. Charles Krauthammer, thank you very much. Good to see you.